Hey, I'm Jo. Welcome to my studio, Garden of Yoga. Welcome to my Makarlu upper body self-care video. So much gratitude and appreciation going out to Carla, the creator of the Makarlu and the person who inspired this workshop. I really loved her neck and jaw workshop, but it goes for an hour and I wanted to create something that was a little bit quicker because on those days where everything is really stressful is often when we feel our most tense, and that's when it's really hard to find an hour for self-care. But I'm hoping that this shorter video will give you a little way into some of these beautiful practices and that you will really find them helpful. You will need a Makarlu for this video. I have unpacked mine. If you don't have a Makarlu, we've got a discount code. It's MAKFLOW, MAKFLOW. So you might like to use that. The other thing I did before starting this video was I cleaned my Makarlu because I use it a lot on my feet and today I'm going to be using it on my face. I also put my hair up so that it wouldn't get tangled in everything else I was doing. And the other thing that you might like to do as well as you're watching this is just have your device close by so that you can pause it as you want to. In the interests of creating a shorter video, I am going to leave moments where you can pause and continue with some of these moves at your own pace just to save on time. Also, as you're moving through, if any of these things that I'm doing do not feel good in your body, if they feel painful, if they feel like they're making you more tense, absolutely listen to those messages, go at your own pace, be really gentle with yourself. Working on this area, we would always be more gentle anyway, but especially if you are coming at this and feeling a bit stressed or a bit sensitive, then it's really important to be extra nurturing with yourself. I'm going to start out lying down. I've got the two small domes and I'm going to make my way along my spine. Use the small ones rather than the medium-sized ones because these can give you a bit of a Makarlu hickey. The suction can create a little bit of an effect like cupping, where you'll see what looks like a bruise, and we don't want that. If the floor feels too hard, these are magnetic, so you could also put them on your fridge, or if you've got a metal column that you can use, you can work with that. Or you can put a softer surface underneath, like a folded up blanket. This is one of the sequences where I'm just going to show you 3 different positions, but when you're doing it yourself, you might like to take longer and go all the way up the spine. I'm going to start out just where my ribs meet my lower back. So placing those 2 little Makarlu domes in place. Having a little moment settling in. This would be where if it was feeling a bit hard, you might like to get yourself a blanket or something softer or work at the wall or the fridge. And as I inhale, I'm just going to slide my arms out and back, and then on the exhale, bringing those arms up towards the ceiling and towards my feet. As you move through, deep, comfortable breath in through the nose if that works for you. On the breath out, see if you can actually lengthen the exhale just a little tiny bit more each time, sending a soothing message to the heart, to the nervous system, and to your state of mind. Slow, smooth flow of breath out. And as you're making your own way through, you would just move one more vertebrae and settle into that next location. You might also like to experiment with a little pelvic rock, forward and back with the pelvis. And that's also a way of getting a lovely little massage around the spine. So this is where you might like to pause. Take your time, making your way up to the shoulder blades. You can move your body or you can move your domes. You'll go 1 vertebrae at a time. I'm going to head straight there because now that I'm here, sometimes I like to work with elbows bent. It's a bit of a different sensation. There'll be some sensitive spots, so be gentle with yourself. If it feels like there are some places that you actually want a little more intensity, you could lean more to that side and focus on moving just that arm. You might like to come into a little self-hug. You might like to reach the arms back and breathe, just noticing what feels really good in your body as you move. And you'll continue to move gradually. I'll take a shortcut. I'm going to make my way up to my upper traps, just where my shoulders meet the base of my neck. And then from here, arms back's a spot that feels really good for me. You might like to come back into pelvic rocks and see how that feels, or you might actually like to lift up a little bit higher, especially if you like a firmer massage. And so again, you can ease in and out, just with that sense of really elongating the exhale, not in a way that feels like it's a strain or it's forced, but just a slow, smooth breath flowing out. You might like to turn the head to one side and move the opposite arm. You might find as you do this, there's a particular spot where it feels really good to stay and breathe. And you could try it to the other side. It could be a different experience. It could be the same spot. It's all just really interesting stuff to notice. And then from here, again, you might like to take longer with this. I'm going to make my way up and put these two little domes on the base and nestle that just at that occiput point, the base of the skull where the head meets the neck. And you could nod with your head, but I actually find that it feels better if I come back to those pelvic rocks and then the movement of the rest of the spine just ends up moving my neck with it. And just making sure that you've got those little domes at a spot that feels good for you, so not necessarily sticking into bone. As you nod your head, continue that movement with your eyes. And this is a great thing to do for our eyes if we've been staring at a computer a lot. A way of stretching out those little muscles around the eyes. You might even feel the correlation between the movement of the eyes and how that connects all the way back into the base of the skull. We can side as well, noticing how that feels. Maybe even getting the knees a little bit involved. And just seeing how it feels in your body. Seeing what feels useful for you. We can also turn it into tiny little circles with the head, circles with the eyes at the same time. And taking it back the other way. And even just that little sequence might feel like enough and a great place to come into a gentle rest. Or we're going to move into our jaw a bit more. I'm just going to pull myself up, a little improvised table. Because all of these moves are actually great to do at your desk. So I'll start out with the medium-sized dome, and I'm going to work my way across the chest. The goal is not to compress with your massage, it's to gently slide that first layer of skin against the underneath layers. So I'm just finding that tender spot just at the front of the shoulder there, and it's like I'm turning a dial. I'm going to make my way along. This would also be something that you could do lying down. That feels really nice as well with that arm stretched out. You might like to take longer as you gently slide your skin as you turn that little dial. What I'm going to do now when I get to my sternum is I'm going to gently pull down, and then from here I'm going to tuck in my chin, open my mouth and lift my head up. So gently pulling down. And I close my mouth at the end. Chin tucks down. Really nice stretch for the front of the neck and the front of the throat. And I'll swap hands and take it to the other side. So gently turning that dial, the imaginary dial, encouraging a sliding, gliding action through the skin, layers of fascia beneath. Gradually making my way back to the sternum. Same move as before, gently pulling down, chin tucks in. Second time around, you might like to take it a little bit more to the side as well. So gently pulling down. It's not the most attractive move, but it does feel really good. And then we're going to make our way to a spot that everyone with a pet would know about. I'm just working around the back of my head, again following that underneath line of my skull, and I can turn with my hand or I can gently move with my head. So just going with whatever feels best for you. And again, if you feel like there's a spot that's just particularly benefiting, you could stay there a little bit longer. Swapping hands, taking it to the other side, maybe gently moving with the hand, maybe gently moving with the head, maybe a combination of both. And then finding the corner of the jaw, the mandible, I'm going to go up and under with my Makarlu dome. So again, thinking of that dialing kind of feeling, sliding the skin, working my way around, take it to the other side, up and under. And there'll be some sensitive places along the way, so be gentle with yourself. Now I'm going to work just top of my neck, scalene muscles, and I'm going to gently slide up. Sometimes these muscles get a bit tense if we're breathing a lot in our upper chest. So you might like to think of inhale as you slide up, making sure you're really relaxed through those neck muscles, and then on the exhale, letting that breath release out. Maybe even a little extra focus of breathing into the diaphragm, breathing down to the bottoms of the lungs. Taking it to the other side, gently sliding up on the inhale, release as the breath flows out. Always interesting to notice if things feel different between each side of the neck. And then from here, I'm going to take this dome again and I'm going to start just under my cheekbones and gently spiral. The muscles of the face actually attach to the skin, so being really gentle with these intricate little face muscles as we gently move the skin. Taking it to the other side. Doesn't matter which direction you go, but it's not like forward, back, forward, back. I'm actively turning in one direction and then gently releasing back to the starting spot. And the next area is so sensitive, I'm just going to use my thumbs. If again you find that corner of the jawbone, and I'm going to think of pushing my jaw gently forwards. You might like to let your fingers rest on your collarbone and just gently massaging around that corner of the jawbone, but with that sense of pushing the jaw forwards. And this is where our salivary glands are. So it can be a really beneficial place to massage, especially if it's an area that gets a little bit blocked for you. Getting a little circulation moving there, helping those fluids move. And of course, other side. My fingertips are just lightly resting on my face, just so I don't have to work too hard to hold my arm up. And the other area that people have been really telling me in my classes that they want to focus on are their wrists and their arms and their hands from typing. So that's where we're going now. I'm going to use the middle-sized ball, dome. I'm going to change my table height actually. So middle size, and then large dome on the rocky base, just starting close to my elbow. I'm going to do a little side to side rock. Just noticing how that feels, feeling for those tender spots, being gentle with them. And if you're like me and you actually feel like the top is where most of the tight stuff is, you might like to make another one of those with the biggest dome on the base and gently push down on the top dome as you rock from side to side with the bottom one. You'll make your way up the arm. All right, so from here, I'm going to keep holding this. I'm going to take my hand off the edge of the table and I'm going to put this one underneath as I gradually bring the arm up. Change my mind. I'm going to have this one on top. I'm going to gently lower my hand as I slide this dome in the other direction. So it's pretty subtle, but that's feeling really useful for me. And it's a bit of a wrist stretch as well. If you wanted to add to the intensity, you could put a little bit more weight onto the handheld one with the smaller domes inside the larger one. This is feeling like enough for today though. And you could also add to this by doing a little bit more with the hand. So you could go broad with the fingers and then up and in, broad with the fingers and then down. Just exploring for you, and it's another one where I like to use a little bit of a pull in towards my elbow as I move my hands. And you can notice that I'm really spreading my fingers out as I do this to make up for all of the moves that we do during the day when we're kind of pulling those fingers in. And we can emphasize that action by putting our fingers inside the larger dome, actively trying to stretch that apart with the fingers, and then letting it relax, and then actively trying to stretch apart with the fingers again, and then letting that relax. And you would do all of this on your other arm. I start with my mouse hand. That's the one that feels like it needs it the most, but it's great to do it on both. And to also just take a little bit of time at the end of this, just to check in, to notice how your body's feeling, to notice your state of mind, and to notice your breath. I thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I hope that you find these practices useful, and I hope you enjoy using your Makarlu. As I mentioned before, our discount code is MAKFLOW, MAKFLOW, if you don't have one yet and you'd like to get one for home. Thanking you all.